This is your performance wall. We'll be showing you how to create your first performance matrix. We've picked a subject that I'm sure is of interest to most of you. It's leadership. It's also a subject that displays the ability of performance at a glance to actually capture and measure behaviours. The title is My Personal Leadership Plan. It's a plan to improve my leadership behaviours. And the first thing we do is we create a pinpoint.
What's a pinpoint?
A pinpoint is an area of performance that we want to focus in on.
So one of the areas important in leadership is this thing called MBWA.
MBWA stands for Management by Walking Around. This is simply the approach to leadership of getting out and meeting and talking with your people. And you can do it virtually. I want to talk here about what we've just filled in. We've got a title, a description, and here we're adjusting the weighting.
What's the weighting?
The weighting, because we're likely to have more than one pinpoint, is the relative importance of that pinpoint related to other pinpoints. I'll give you a sneak preview. We're actually going to build a matrix with 4 pinpoints. We're going to start by giving them all equal weighting, hence
25%.
And we create the pinpoint, and the first thing we do is we add an end goal. I've already had to think about this. I've done some benchmarking. I've done research on management by walking around, and I've discovered that doing about half an hour a day of management by walking around is an optimal level.
Now, this is half an hour a day, and it looks like you're going to be doing it for 60 days.
Actually, August, you could actually create a matrix that lasts for as little as 2 or 3 days. You could create a matrix that lasts for 5 years. Our experience suggests 3 months is a really good period for a performance matrix, especially your first ones. It's long enough to get something meaningful done, but it's not too long that you try to do too much. We're going to add some value because we don't just want 30 hours of MBWA. We want a bit of a qualitative description. We want to make sure that we cover all locations more than once.
So you're not just seeing your friends all the time, you're actually covering a wider area and covering all of your people.
Then we go back and we actually look at our baseline. And our baseline is simply a statement of where we are today, and it's pretty easy because we know today we've done 0 hours of management by walking around and we've got no plan in place. You will notice this box has gone green and automatically, and what that means is that shaping goal has been completed. Baselines are a special shaping goal that as soon as you complete, it completes on today.
That's simply because it's a statement of fact. Here's where we are today.
Here's where we are today, exactly. Next important thing is that plus button, which you can see has been pressed, because this gives us what we call a shaping goal.
A shaping goal is essentially a breakdown of your plan. So it's what you're going to do in order to hit that 30 hours of MBWA between now and August. You break it down into small, manageable steps.
Now, shaping goals are free.
You can have as many as you want.
And how many should you have?
Well,
as many as you need.
As many as you need.
Don't skimp on shaping goals.
No, so it really depends on what you put in the shaping goal. So you can count hours, you can count activity. As long as whatever you put in your shaping goal, you need to be able to measure it.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have evidence of it being done or being completed.
First shaping goal we've come up with is to make a plan in your diary and calendar, and we're just doing it for 1 month at this point because, as I said, shaping goals are free. Block out some time for MBWA and select the areas.
This is really important because if you don't block out the time. There will always be something else
that's more important.
And you will lose that time, and you'll find that you won't get your 30 hours of MBW.
In that first couple of weeks, we hope to be able to do 5 hours of management by walking around. What did we say? Half an hour per day. So we expect that within 10 working days.
Yeah, we'll do 5 hours.
So hence we've put the due date for that to the 20th, and you can see we've got another shaping goal. Here, if you click on the 3 dots, you can actually duplicate that shaping goal. And there it pops up, but we go into edit it, and we can make a plan for June. When do we want to do that? At the beginning of June. We change the date and we change the description, the title, and we update, and lo and behold, we have our plan. Now, of course, we'll also want to do a similar thing for July. And we can also, every time we do 5 hours of management by walking around, and you'll notice we're changing the date, so this is every 10 working days until here we're duplicating and filling in shaping goals every 2 weeks up until the end goal. So that's management by walking around complete. Our next pinpoint that we've identified as key to our leadership effectiveness is communicating our strategy, specifically making sure that everyone who works for us understands it and understands their part in it. So we'll run this through at high speed and then talk about some of the features at the end. It's essentially the same process as we did with management by walking around.
Okay, so let's go to the goal is everyone who works for you understands the strategy and their role in achieving it.
Yes.
The baseline, which is strategy exists but not widely communicated. And we can see all the steps there. Review the last strategy documentation, organise session with your team, hold leadership team session, hold pilot communication session, revise communication, etc., etc. All the steps you need to do in order to make sure that your strategy is
including the individual communication sessions.
Yeah.
And again, planned out with a date for a target date for each one. We can move on to the third area,
which is positive reinforcement, a consequence that people receive for doing activities, and it's generally a consequence that they want to receive.
Yeah.
It could be praise from a colleague or a superior. It could be the simple feeling of completing
a job well done,
completing a difficult task.
Basically, we want to give positive reinforcement when we find and see people
desirable behaviour
doing,
because it maximises performance.
It maximises performance. Okay, so you can see the goal here. We want to be having an average of 5 R plus per week.
And why are we even bothering to set a numerical target here for the amount of positive reinforcement we give?
What gets measured gets done, and if you don't measure it, all
you're not
it
do it.
Is a good intention.
Yeah.
And we know that the road to hell
is paved
with them. Yes, we set ourselves a target so that we can trigger ourselves to do this. The baseline was we knew that there was some reinforcement happening, but we didn't measure it. Yeah. So we really didn't know what was going on. The shaping goals are all about agreeing with our managers and our team what behaviours need to be reinforced.
Yep, makes sense.
And putting a measurement system in place so that we can capture them. 25% weighting, similarly, and we'll move on to the final pinpoint of our matrix. Key part of leadership is to be outward looking rather than inward looking, and the best place to look outwards is your customers, specifically the relationships you have with them and the amount of time you spend with them. We'll do the high speed creation, and then and again, all of these pinpoints, we're looking at this 3-month window. What have we got? Where do we want to get to? Our customer needs understood. Specifically, what was agreed was the improvements that were needed and the metrics for those improvements. If we go back to the baseline, we have agreed that we don't have enough knowledge of customer requirements or needs. So what do? We organise a leadership team session and we do a SIPOC. A SIPOC being a tool that
we use to identify who our customers are and what their needs are.
I believe there's another video
you could look at. There's another video on that too.
That very subject. And then you, as a result of the SIPOC, which will help you identify who your key customers are, you can schedule a plan in for customer meetings and hold all of those meetings, in this case 4 of them, and then hold a SIPOC review meeting where you look at the results of those customer meetings, you collate those, analyse them, and then provide feedback to the customers about what you are going to do. So there, your very first performance matrix. Very quick to do.